Okay, Joyce Charat.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Like in French, santé. Santé.
Sante. I tried to pronounce your name properly, but I said chimichurri,
Yes.
but it's not chimichurri.
It's not.
Charat. Charat.
Charat.
Charat.
Charat.
Charat.
Yeah.
Because you're French.
Put aggression into it.
Joyce Charat.
Yes.
Joyce, you, first of all, thank you for coming to the Curious Photographers podcast. I just met you 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
which is such a shame because when we started chatting, I thought you were super interesting. And when I went to see your work, I was blown away. And I was so angry that I didn't know you earlier. And I was just like, how could you live in a city like this and not know that there are people of your caliber in your neighborhood and you don't even know? That's such a shame.
Thank you.
Which is why we're doing this podcast, to not only introduce you to everyone in the world, but also to introduce you more to me and to get out there because, dude, you're freaking awesome. And
Thank
we
you so
can't
much.
have you be like, hiding, it's like be a recluse. We have to get out there. And I know you're camera shy, so we appreciate
Yes,
you
I am.
coming into the podcast with video.
Thank you.
So we did it. But you came from the south of France.
Yes.
And you started photography when?
So I started photography like 8 years ago. I was doing video first. I was filming my friends skating in the street, and I was like, ooh, I love visuals. But I never thought about being a photographer. And then when I went to school, I was like, video is very complicated. I have to like do math. I have to attend a bunch of math classes, which is really not my thing. And I was like, let me just transfer to a photography school because I'm starting to love Photoshop. I'm starting to like love freezing moments. So I was like, this is what I should do. I should be doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, let me tell you something. Do not stop the podcast right now, but you should at least grab your phones while you're listening and check out her Instagram and get ready to be blown away. I mean, it's so good. And what's your Instagram? It's Joyce Visuals?
Joyce Visuals.
Joyce, Joy
CE.
Visuals.
Visuals with an S.
With an S.
Yes.
Guys, go check it out and follow her because it's just ridiculous how awesome she is. And also, you have really cool BTS in there.
Yes.
Like where you actually show a lot. And one thing I noticed about you before I actually knew you were a street skater, because you used to be a street skater.
Yeah, I used to compete skateboarding.
Yeah, this is just crazy to me. You don't do that anymore.
I don't compete now.
But you were a street skater.
Yes.
And you were pretty good.
I was decent. I was good.
It's funny because when I first saw your Instagram, I saw you taking photos and the way you were standing, like the stance was like, okay, she's got to be some snowboarder or a skater or something, because nobody stands like that unless you're in that world. It's like kind of like ballerinas when they stand with their feet out like that.
Yeah.
You have like similar mannerisms with your legs, with your body.
Yeah.
And you can tell that you have that background in you. So
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Thank you.
What do you think street skating helped you become a photographer? I mean, that's like a crazy question, but they're two very different worlds, yet here we are. So what do you think the transition was?
I think that being a street skateboarder helped me a lot because in skateboarding, you keep failing, you fall all the time, you hurt yourself, you have bruises everywhere, like your jeans are ripped and everything. And it shows you that you have to like keep going and like try again. And then that's how it is as a photographer. You have no's all the time. Like clients are going to be no's, you send emails and you're not going to get responses. So it's like you have to keep fighting and like saying like being positive. So I feel like that's how it helped me.
And you said something really interesting, because I speak to a lot of photographers, and even though they mean well, they say, okay, Roberto, I'll try the marketing, I'll do the emails, I'll send them out, but I never get an answer. So it must be me. I'm just not ready. They don't care about me. They reject themselves. People reject themselves all the time because we're artists.
Yeah.
And you're saying to people, grab a Kleenex and have a pity party elsewhere, basically.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you're going to continue drowning in a glass of water of pity, you're never going to be the one that will be chosen.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like I feel like as photographers, we always have rejection, but it doesn't mean that they're not interested in us. It might be for the future. And it's good that you're always pitching out yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke to a photographer, a friend of mine named Joel Grimes. And Joel Grimes is a guy that just has a lot of knowledge. and we talked a lot. He's been around forever. He's a commercial photographer. He's been around forever. He told me that when he used to go out there and try to get himself some jobs, he got rejected 99% of the time. So he would go up to the meeting person in charge and say, you know what? I'm not trying to be your number one choice. I'm not trying to even be your number two choice. I'm just trying to be the guy you call in case there's an emergency and you need someone ASAP. And I'm here for that. And then the guy, whoever was in charge, was looking at him like, that's a different approach, because it was realistic.
Yeah.
It was like Joel was giving them an out, but he was giving them a way to not reject him at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to reject a person that says, I'm just here if you have an emergency? And what you're saying is, you got to keep going, and the rejection is part of the job.
Exactly.
It's part of the job. Why did you, you're street skating in the south of France, you have your life there, and then all of a sudden, what transferred, what switched in your head that you're like, I want to be a photographer? And then why fashion? Why not skateboarding? Or like Ativa Jefferson is a skateboarding photographer. Why not do that? Why did you go to fashion?
Yeah, so basically when I moved here, I had no idea I wanted to be a photographer. I just wanted to shoot narratives, so I wanted to be a DP. So that's why I was like, I'm going to be a DP. I'm going to go to school for being a DP. And that was my only focus. But then one day I picked up a camera and I started taking pictures, and I was like, this is very interesting. And at first I was more interested into like capturing the eyes and the incense of people. And I started like loving like full body and like the fashion. And both my parents, they work in fashion. So I grew up surrounded by like, high-end bags and like fashion. My dad, he was like traveling all over the world for fashion. My mom, she's into fashion. So it's like, I grew up in that world. So it wasn't me always as a kid.
Right.
Yes.
You took those first photos and you said, I find this really interesting.
Yes.
Why were those photos off that you found so interesting?
When I started?
Yeah.
It was just people,
Random.
like friends. It was like my friends, my boyfriends, it was just like random people that I was taking pictures of. And I was like, this is very interesting, just freezing in action. Like I love to capture people in action. That's what really, really interests me.
I find it so interesting because you started with video, which is not freezing action.
Yeah.
It's actually capturing motion.
Yeah.
But somehow you decided the freezing of that motion is what brought you to photography.
Yes.
It was more interesting to you than video?
Yeah, because the whole like lighting situation, I really wanted to explore lighting and freeze action, like freezing moments, and like really shaping light to like a subject is what really intrigued me at first,
Correct me if I'm wrong, and people in the audience might think I'm crazy, but I feel like mistakes are a lot more easily detected in a frame that's freezed. If you have a frame, a camera frame or a video frame, and you freeze that frame, if there's a posing mistake in that frame, it's there forever and it's bigger. It's like it's like right there in your face, right? But if it's video, a mistake can occur, and in one fraction of a second, it's gone because you're now moving to the next frame, and you're shooting 29 frames per second or more.
Yeah.
So getting into photography, it's quite riskier because it requires a lot more attention to the posing.
Yes.
And of course, video requires a lot more attention to everything else. Like it's so complicated, right? Like it's audio and it's lighting, and you can't just flash it, right? You have to have continuous light. And it's just so complicated. You were at the south of France, and then you said, you woke up one day, you had your coffee, and you're like, I'm moving to LA. Like, why?
So basically, a year before moving here, I came here on vacation with my parents. And we were staying in Venice. I remember I was skateboarding there every day, and I was like, oh my God, this is a place for me. There's the beach, there's the skate park. I can I belong here. I feel like I belong here. And in France, I felt like I was standing out too much. Because I grew up being a tomboy, I was dressing differently. I had like hats. And like in France, people judge very fast.
I don't know.
Yeah. People judge you very fast. Like they were making fun of me for wearing a hat in the bus,
Oh.
And having a skateboard, they'd be like, oh, you're a girl and you skate. Like, who are you, So I know it's crazy, but so that's why I was like, I see skaters here that are girls, and I was like, maybe I would belong here more. And there's like the film industry. So like I begged my parents for months. I was like, please, 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 like let me go. You know, I promise you, I'm gonna have great grades. Like I'm gonna really gonna focus on my studies. Like trust me.
How old were you when you made this move?
18.
You were
Yeah.
18?
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I moved here like my birthday just passed and I was 19. Yeah.
Wow. So as an 18-year-old, you're barely an adult, and then you decide to go to the other side of the
Yeah.
Atlantic Ocean, come all the way across to the Pacific Ocean
Yeah. I
by
didn't know how to
yourself.
speak English.
And you didn't speak English.
Yeah. I didn't know how to do anything. Like at home, I put rice on fire. Like I didn't know how to clean anything.
Joyce, Charlotte, like what were you thinking?
I don't know. I just wanted to get out of my comfort zone, you know?
We talked about getting out of your comfort zone with Loretta Houston on the first episode. That is a key element
Yes.
to your success as an artist or of any kind.
Yes.
Pianist, cellist, video, cinematographer, photographer, whatever.
Yes.
Being in your comfort zone is your quickest one-way ticket to failure. Would you agree with that?
Being out of your comfort.
Being in your comfort zone all the time, like living
Absolutely.
in your beautiful comfort zone where you're just comfy, you have your little security blanket.
Oh yeah.
That's like
I feel like when you stay in your comfort zone, you just stay stagnant for the rest of your life.
yeah.
And like, if you don't have the mindset of like, I want to do 1% better every day, and you do one action a day, feel it's like a small, tiny thing,
Yeah.
it's just not going to work. You know, you won't evolve and grow. So,
What was when you first moved here and you started going into school? What was the first, if you can remember, what was the first setback where you thought, geez, I might have made a mistake?
I might have been a mistake.
I might have made a mistake coming here. Like, do you remember that? Like, if you ever were in school or something happened and you're like,
Yes.
what am I doing? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why did I not just stay in France?
So I didn't think, oh, I want to go back to France, but I was like, I really put myself in a hard situation, because I remember my first semester in college, I was in English class, and I didn't know how to speak English, but we had to write in English, essays, we had to read in English, and I remember we had to read in front of the class. I was like, I don't even know how to read in English. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh
And I was like, hi. You know, I was very shy and I didn't know how to speak English. It was very, very hard for me. Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. And I think people listening, can you guys just close your eyes for a second? Unless you're driving, then please do not close your eyes. But can you imagine going to, I don't know, Sudan, Africa or something, and trying to speak, read out loud in front of everybody? And this is your first attempt to video school.
Yeah.
And then from video school, how long were you in video school when you decided this is not for me? I want to do photography. How long did that take?
So I was in in a film school for 2 years, and I took a Photoshop class on the side. And then I was like, wow, Photoshop is really cool. And I started doing like, you know, composites and stuff like that. And then I did skin retouching, and I was like, skin retouching is very cool. So that's when my teacher was like, if you want to be a photographer, you should go to Art Center College of Design. And I was like, okay, you know, I'll look into it.
Oh, you went to Art Center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So retouching, what caught your attention quite a bit? Back in the days where people used to retouch themselves with a Wacom tablet and a Wacom pen.
Yeah.
How do you feel today? Where is retouching going with AI? Do you wish you would go back to manual retouching? Is AI retouching a solution?
Yeah. So,
You know, or is it a problem?
personally, I love AI. I use it all the time, like for inspiration, for, you know, if I need to retouch something. Sometimes I would use AI if I need to remove people. I'm like, hey, can you remove this person in the background? That's great, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe in AI. I think it's a great tool. You know, it saves a lot of time. And it's just like a tool to improve yourself. So,
Do you think at some point it's starting to take away from the photographer's efforts in creating a set? For example, nowadays, like before, you used to have to build the sets yourself. You wanted to put something on the set, you had to go find it and then buy it and have it shipped and then put it on the set. Nowadays, people just put like a prompt on a text line and say, put an alligator or put a lion there. And
Yeah.
it's no longer the effort, but who cares? Because it's still the photographer's imagination. But at the same time, you didn't do any of the effort to get those things there. So how do you feel about just so easily being able to create something that wasn't even there?
Yeah, I feel like AI has its limits. I think it should be used in a certain environment, but not to like fully take the creative prompt. It's not going to take the photographer's job. But I also
Not
think
yet.
not yet. I don't think it's gonna be fully like taken away
You don't
because
think?
I don't think so. Not until for maybe 30 years, 20
30?
years, 20 years.
Vanity Fair or
We'll
Vogue or one
be
of the magazines, I don't know which one it was, but they started doing a campaign with AI models instead of real models.
yeah, I saw, but
And
it'll never take away from us. I feel like the way we create and all that is never gonna be, at least in our generation.
yeah.
When we're retired, maybe it's gonna be fully AI.
When you
No.
saw that campaign that was all done with AI models, did your heart hurt a little bit?
I saw it and I was like, it kind of hurts, especially when there's brands that work with AI fully and don't hire a team. But I also think that right now it's not going to replace us. No, for now.
I mean, I think that it's
I'm
growing
trying to be very
positive.
positive, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And look, it's good to be positive.
And I also think that even if like it takes over what we do right now, we'll find a solution to add on something that is very useful for other people. That it is still going to hire us.
What do you think the photographer brings to the table that AI doesn't, or automated photo shoots don't? For example, I saw an ad where a company's being created I think it was here in LA, where you can go in there and go into a room and have all these photos taken of yourself with AI. The AI basically checks your face, that your eyes are open, that you're posing, and it starts taking photos of you. And it even gives you hints on posing and how to do it and
Wow.
all these different stuff. And there's a screen in front of you. You can kind of copy the pose in front of you so you can do it. And I was just like, oh man, that is next level, just cray to me. So we have that. We have campaigns running AI models, no longer hiring a team. We have all these things. What do you think the photographer brings to the table then?
I think like hiring a photographer is an experience, like a human to human connection. And that's something that AI could never take.
That's true.
Yeah. I think it's always like when we work with like models, brands, we're like connecting to them and we're like giving exchange of energies. So that's something that AI could never replace.
What is one thing about all photography related AI that you wish wasn't there, that you would change, that you don't like?
About AI in photography?
Or in video, yeah.
I feel like sometimes when you're trying to have like a simple shoot and like all this AI is coming into action is just too much, Like like creating some crazy background with AI, and I think it's not needed, I think we can create that, still like with our own hands and like build sets,
From an emotional point of view, Joyce, like you look at a photo, you relate with the background, the subject, the story in the photo, and all these things, right? But now with AI again, like you take a photo in a white background or a green screen, and then you have these apocalyptic backgrounds, and like the buildings are falling down, and the Empire Building is in two pieces, and there's like a warplane flying by from the 1960s, and it's like to me. I appreciate kind of like the creativity of the prompts, but I don't relate with it emotionally as much.
Yeah.
What about you?
It's the same for me. It's not something I will remember. Like certain pictures I look at it and I'm like, this is a picture I'm going to remember because I can emotionally connect to it. But if I see a picture that's too AI and like VFX and too much going on, I'm not going to remember it.
Yeah.
You know.
See, I have to give you an applause for that.
That's hilarious.
Sorry, I have a button, and I have to push the button. Mackie makes this DLC creator, and it has this little button, so you can create little
That's
things
cool.
like you can do like the screen.
Oh well,
Well, we won't use that one, but
that's cool. That's really cool.
I do think that I do think that you said something super cool about not having an emotional connection with the photo when the background is totally AI generated.
Yes.
Even though the photo of the subject is actually created by the photographer, the background still plays to you such an important role, such a paramount role that it actually destroys your emotion just because the background was AI created.
Yeah, we can't relate to it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that's amazing that if you don't relate with it, that's our saving grace, because that means customers buying brands, buying Guess jeans or Louis Vuitton or whatever they want to buy, if they don't see, if it's AI generated, it might take away from the connection with that
Of
product.
course. Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
In your photography, you seem to gravitate to highly exaggerated perspectives of all kinds. I have never seen someone, and I'm a fashion photographer too. And after seeing your work, I was motivated to play around more with extreme wide angle. Now you take extreme wide angle to the extremes, no
Yes.
pun intended, actually totally pun intended. Totally pun intended. But you do take that extreme to the triple X extreme. You shoot with like an 8 millimeter fisheye.
Yeah.
Like, guys, that is very distorted, right? But somehow, when you see your work, it looks like bigger than life. And the people look so grand and important. What was the first time you took a photo with an 8 millimeter or something extremely wide angle that you just went, boom, this is it. This
Yeah.
is me.
So actually, my first lens that I've ever gotten was a 8 millimeter.
That was your first?
Yes. Because
wait, hold on. I would scream because that would be the death of people. Like, hey, guys, let me take your portrait with an 8 millimeter fisheye. Don't worry, you'll be good.
no, the reason why is because as a skateboarder, we're always using fisheyes, to shoot video. So I was always using the fisheye to shoot my friends. And
It's just so opposite of what normal people would do.
yeah, so I used my fisheye, and then I got a regular camera with like a regular, 15 to 35 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking regular pictures. My first lens was a fisheye, so it was very, very wide. And then, yeah, fisheye was always my choice.
And that was your first lens, and you kept that lens for a long time? Like you were
Yes.
using that? Because you didn't have like loads of money either.
No.
So, and this is another thing that I think people need to learn, that sometimes working with just one or two lenses and getting to know them can actually help you find what your artistic eye is.
Yes.
But when we are out there with 18 lenses, you don't know what the heck you are all about.
Yes.
It's confusing. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about training to find your voice with equipment or with a lack of equipment?
Yeah. So I feel like in my career, I've had like lack of equipment, a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was using one lens for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using the 24-70 for a long time, which I think if you want to get started, that's the best lens you can get, So I was using the 24-70, and I always had the 8 millimeter fisheye too. So I think it's good to have like one lens that you can really rely on. And then you can like just rent out one lens that you really want to try out and see if you like it,
Are you telling me right now that when you pulled out your camera bag, the first lens you went to, your go-to lens, was an 8 millimeter fisheye? Like that was your default?
Yes.
That's like, hold on. It's just like bonkers
But
to me.
think about it. It was my fisheye, but I wasn't shooting fashion yet. I was shooting skateboarding. And then when I started going to photography school, I was using regular lenses. And my teacher one day told me, Joyce, you're always shooting from the same perspective. He was like, you're always shooting from the same perspective. I look at your whole portfolio, it looks the same. And I was like, interesting. And then he was like, try to shoot from up a ladder, try to shoot on the ground and see how you feel. And then I started shooting from all different angles. I got all the way up to the ladder. I got all the way down to the ground, like to the side. I was moving the lights around. And then I realized that perspective is what I really like. I like to make people look long. I like to make them distorted, very powerful.
Which is weird because you have been doing that with the skaters.
Yes.
But because you're in school, you were hindering yourself and limiting yourself to thinking what is the proper perspective at a photo school.
Yes.
And until your own teacher's like, no, like you are doing everything in a comfort zone, and that comfort zone is boring.
Yes.
And it brought you back to your extreme wide angle perspectives. I mean, extreme wide angle lenses with extreme perspectives,
Exactly.
which is like way down. Like you are shooting people from like almost their knees or their even
Their
lower,
feet, yeah, from their feet up.
and then you go up with a fisheye 8mm.
Yeah. I'm laying on the ground.
You're like laying on the ground shooting up.
Yes.
How do you pose the model so it doesn't look totally crazy when you're shooting with those kinds of extreme lenses?
Yeah, so I think it really depends on what the model is wearing. If it's like long pants, like, like very wide pants, it's going to look very cool because it's a lot of fabric to play with, and I think the wide stance looks always better than the narrow stance.
On a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just like different angles. And sometimes when they're sitting, depending on how they're posing, it won't look good. It's shooting with a fisheye is tricky because you have to know how to make the model look good. So it can be tricky, yeah.
What are 2 or 3 things that you need to watch out for when shooting with a fisheye lens on a person? What are 2 or 3 things that your brain goes like, be careful with this, be careful with that?
Yes. So one thing is when you're shooting with fisheye, you're going to elongate it in post. You're going to do like the lens correction and it's going to make it look longer.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that the feet are not shooting too close down to the frame. Otherwise, you're going to lose the feet. So you have to have the feet up. So when you're, making the photo bigger, it's going to show the feet too. That's one.
That's amazing. That's so important.
Yeah, it's so important because then it's not the full body.
Right.
2, and also like the face. You can't, unless it's, of course, like on purpose. But sometimes the face can look weird. Like it can look like super distorted and like the hands, it depends. Sometimes it can look very pretty if it's long, but sometimes it looks weird, Sometimes it can be like the hip problem. You really have to like, when you shoot with fisheye, you have to keep experimenting. Like you have to move the model and have the model move. You have to tell them like, please move for me and I'm going to move with you and we're going to find the perfect position. Is
there a limit to where the head can be to not distort the face so much? Like when you're shooting, do you kind of keep an eye on where the face is? Because I've seen your work. I saw your work a lot. And I noticed that you don't really care about the hands being distorted. Like and when I asked you about it, you actually said, no, I actually love that. And that was a good slap in the face for me, Joyce, because we and the people listening, we put ourselves in these like rules, right? Photography rules. Yeah. Oh, the photo, the hand should not be there. The hand, it looks distorted. The finger looks too long. The pants look too short. And you're saying that's what I like. That's what I like. Yeah. That's who I am. Yeah. And that's your voice. And that's why people hire Joyce Charat, not me or somebody else, right? Yeah. Because you have this, you're like doubling down on what other people would look down on. Yes. And you don't care. Yeah. This is why AI cannot take over, because AI cannot do that. Yeah. Right? I remember my teacher was telling me, like, you have to learn the rules and then you can break them. So that's what I did. I learned, about photography. I was working very hard at school and, learning about film, the zone system, like everything, printing my own photography for years. And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm not going to say the word, but, just going to explore and do my thing. What's the word? Because I have a beepy thing here. Okay. Fuck it. Okay, got it. Nobody heard anything. And then I'm going to do my own thing, That's right. And that's what you should do. Yes. So let's cheers to that. Yes. Cheers. Cheers to doing your own thing, because that's what everybody should be doing. Yes. What is your thing, people? What is your thing? Do not copy me or Joyce or Loretta or everybody else. What do you bring to the table? Because that's how you're going to beat AI, right? That's how you beat AI. By being personal with people, Yeah, be personal about it. It's an experience. Joyce, what do you miss about France that we don't have here? So much. Besides the crepes and stuff. The food, the crepes. The crepes, the cheese. The pain au chocolat, the chocolat, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Chocolate croissant. Chocolat croissant. How did I say it? Did I pronounce that right? No. Okay. It's pain au chocolat. Pain au chocolat. Yes. Okay, I have one thing I learned in France. I learned when I was trying to learn French. Le garçon conduit le voiture. La voiture. La voiture. Okay, the boy is driving the car. Yeah, how did I do? It's good. Is it all right? Yeah, is it all right? Was it terrible? Should I quit? No, I think it's great to learn languages. I do. How do you feel like, me learning Spanish, English, and German has helped my photography a lot. But this is not my podcast. This is yours. So, how does being a French woman and speaking French and having experiences in the south of France and probably traveling all over Europe, as you guys do, how do you feel that played a role in your creativity?
Yeah, I feel like, in LA, I bring a different eye that other photographers don't necessarily have, like I'm more higher end, like high fashion than other people here, I feel like. So it's just
Can you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
like
Like
I
your,
just like the way I shoot is like high fashion, and some people, I feel like LA is very commercial. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
And I feel like I do like more high fashion, so it's just like bringing a different eye here that people are looking for.
Can you tell the audience what is the difference between commercial and fashion in your mind?
Yeah, so fashion is more like, higher end brands that are like fashion, and commercial is more like, like pretty, smiley, and not like as elevated.
But visually, what is the visual difference between a commercial shoot and a fashion shoot? Like what separates, what is the defining separating factor that you think about between those two?
I feel like high fashion is more, it can be more edgy. Commercial is very, it's not edgy.
No.
It's very like what you would see on billboards, like not too edgy, very simple to like the general consumer,
Mm-hmm.
And high fashion is more like for people that want to buy certain clothes, like higher end people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a certain target of audience.
Right.
Smaller, a lot smaller, yeah.
One thing I never could figure out, and I love to ask people this question, is how does this hyper creativity in fashion and crazy angles and lighting and all these backgrounds and all this stuff they do, how does that help the average person want to buy those products? Like, I've seen ads that are just so out there, like
Yeah.
especially by Louis Vuitton and stuff.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm a guy that has a normal job. I live in LA. I do my thing. Like, how does that 25 tigers like tearing a tree apart and a zebra like chilling and drinking a margarita? Like, how does that help me buy a purse, or
Yeah.
whatever?
So I feel like our generation, like the younger generation, has no attention span. So I feel like the more visually striking the image is, the more they'll stop. Like let's say I'm driving on Sunset Boulevard and I see a beautiful, striking billboard. I'll stop. I'll be like taking a picture and be like, this is beautiful. But if I see a random CVS billboard, for example, and I will drive past it. I think nowadays it's like the more visually striking it is, the more you'll get, people's attention.
That's right. I
Yeah.
agree with that. I always tell people in my posing workshops that in fashion, there's not a lot of rules in posing because we making it look awkward is actually part of the job.
Exactly.
Whereas in family photography or regular portrait photography, you have to be much more knowledgeable in posing because you want it to look good and people need to be flattering. The client is paying you. The person in front of your camera is paying you versus in fashion, the person in front of your camera is never paying you. So they're basically a tool for you to create your vision. Whereas a family photographer or a portrait photographer, the client is the consumer is the client, and you have to make sure they look good.
Yes.
Do you study posing?
Not really. I feel like over the years, I've worked with models so much that I know how to make them pose. That even myself now I like kind of know how to pose. It's funny because I used to never pose or anything, but now I'm like I know how to pose because I'm surrounded by so many models.
Yeah. And also you're working in fashion where models have a way of they basically move themselves and that's their job.
Yes.
Right? And then you give them an idea. So you give them an idea of what you want and then they move accordingly, or do you feel like the models are following their sequence of 10 to 12 poses? Or do they actually get affected by your lead?
So I think it's a mixture of both. Like I tell them, okay, this is the mood that I want you to be. I want you to have this type of attitude. And then I want you to move. Start moving. That's what I tell them. I'm saying, start moving. And then we start shooting and I'm moving with them. It's like a exchange of energy.
Oh, yeah.
And then, they're just like, okay, now look this way and make this face and
Great. Exchange
put
of
your
energy.
hand.
Hold on.
It's an exchange of energy, yeah.
Sorry.
That's hilarious.
The
It sounds
reason
like
why
a
I gave you an
comedy
applause, it sounds like a what?
comedy show.
Yeah. The reason why I gave you an applause there is because, can we do a cheers on that?
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
exchange of energy. The reason why I'm cheering you on that is because in my posing workshops, photographers hide their face behind the camera and they talk very quietly and they expect the model to be like full of energy and excitement and moving. And I'm like, that's never going to work.
No.
You, the person shooting, has to have as much energy as the person you are shooting. And that is an exchange of energy that people need to
Yes.
realize that if you're just hiding behind the camera, you're
Yes.
just not going to get that energy from them.
And it's so funny you're saying that because I feel like it's always an exchange of energy. Like, let's say I'm working with models. When I get on set, I always make contact and, make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Especially working with celebrities, like I say, music artists, when I do their covers and stuff like that, I'm always trying to make connection. Even if it's like brief or, making jokes and stuff like that to make them feel comfortable. Because at first they're either like closed off or, being like a little diva sometimes. And it's your job as a photographer and it can be draining sometimes, but that's what you have to do is to make people feel comfortable.
That's right.
Yes.
How do you default yourself to when you have a job like a campaign for a musician? Do you think let's do this outdoors, or do you say let's do it in the studio?
No, so most of my campaigns, they're always in studio.
Interesting.
They always like to shoot in studio. I've actually was supposed to shoot Cardi B's pregnancy announcement.
Oh, okay.
And that was going to be this crazy, like on the rooftop and then in the metro. Like it was really like this whole situation. But that
In
was
the metro in LA?
Yes. No, in New York.
Oh, because if in LA, you would have the whole metro to yourself. You know?
Yeah. No, it was in New York. But
So you consider yourself a heavy studio photographer?
no, I feel
No.
like I'm both.
Good.
I'm
Okay.
both. Yes.
And you have you outside, inside. You're a person that lights up everything very heavily. Like I've seen,
Yes.
your lighting is beautiful, and I
Thank
know
you.
you're a pro photo. You're a pro photo user, a pro photo ambassador as well.
Almost.
Almost. Okay, we need to get pro photo on that.
Just started working with them, so
Oh, you did?
yes.
Pro photo. So when you go outside, I mean, your lighting is one of the things that drew me to you big time. It
Thank
is
you.
so good, and also your color grading on post.
Thank you.
It's phenomenal. Is there like a go-to lighting setup that you kind of have that's like a starting point for you, and then you move on from there? Do you prefer hard modifiers like the metal ones versus like the soft boxes or octoboxes when you're shooting? Give me
Yeah.
your rundown on that.
So the way I work is I always shoot with no light. I start with nothing.
Okay.
And then I just start adding on like one light and see how it's falling off on the model's face, depending on like the mood that I'm looking for. Sometimes I want something hard, edgy, that's going to make the face even stronger. Or sometimes I'm looking for something softer. But usually I go for something softer because already the makeup I know is going to be strong, the model is strong, the clothes are strong. So it's usually softer
The
lighting
light.
that I go to, yeah.
Because the makeup and the clothing is so
Yeah.
heavy.
It's very edgy, yeah.
It's edgy and sharp.
Yes.
That's a great point. That's a great point. It gives the audience a starting point that when they are listening to this and then they go out there to do a shoot, if they see soft makeup, beautiful soft beauty makeup, then they can go ahead and add harder light,
Exactly. Yeah.
like an edgier, harder
Yeah.
light. But if the model or the subject, whatever, has edgy makeup with really crazy clothing and colorful stuff, then maybe a softer light might be the better choice.
Yes.
Right? And backgrounds. Do you prefer backgrounds that are like have depth, or do you prefer dynamic backgrounds that are like walls or something like right behind the subject? What is your go-to?
So for me, I love to have a separation between the model and the background because I love to light things differently. Because otherwise we'll have like spill on the model's face, and I don't want to mix things up. So every time I book a studio, I want the site to be humongous.
Right.
That's the best,
Right.
Yeah.
You like cyc walls?
That's my thing, yeah. I love cyc walls.
Golden Rose Studios, baby, upstairs. You can rent that.
Oh, that's
they have
cool.
a cyc wall there.
I didn't know.
My friend Remy and Laurel have that studio upstairs from this place, and they have a cyc wall.
You really?
I didn't do a cyc wall here. I just put a 12-foot paper. Do you feel 12-foot papers like the one I have here is is like an okay way of cheating yourself through not having a cyc wall, or you think a cyc wall and a 12-foot paper are pretty equivalent?
Yeah, I mean, even an 8-foot paper would work. It still works, but I just would like to like sweep the backdrop a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, you're a fashion photographer, and every fashion photographer loves cyc walls. Can you tell me what's the obsession with cyc walls with you guys? I mean,
So-
actually, us too, because I also do it. But what is it about a white nothing?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I feel like, if you want to create lighting and stuff, I feel like it makes you look a lot more. It just looks more professional to have like a big cyc wall, and it just gives you more space to create lights and like have the model moving around, and stuff like that.
Yeah. You feel like it just
It's just
allows
like
you to
sleek.
backlight and sleek. It's like
It's very sleek.
endless.
It's endless, yeah.
And you can really focus on the lighting because there's nothing else to contribute to it.
Yes.
Do you ever put props on a cyc wall, or do you basically just keep it clean and it's the person and that's it?
No, I love to add props onto a backdrop, and actually that's my goal of this year, is to really like start building sets.
You don't
I
want to
actually
AI
shot-
them. You don't want to AI them. You want to actually build them.
Yeah, and it's so funny because a couple months ago I shot a campaign for hair, and they had this crazy like a holographic background that they wanted to create, and I was like, we won't create it in post, so we're gonna build the set from scratch. And they were okay with it, and we built the set from scratch. We built like walls that we angled a certain way to create like a 3D effect of holographic.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
Sort of like putting a projector.
Yeah, it was like like a prism, like rainbow
Yeah.
type of
Oh,
colors. Yeah,
interesting.
it was very cool.
With what material did you?
It's like a holographic, like a sheet of paper that creates like it's like a mylar. It's not mylar, but it's like a holographic sheet. That's what it's called, I think.
What the heck? Where do you buy this
Yeah,
thing?
on Amazon.
Okay,
You
of
can
course.
buy it on Amazon. It's very interesting to like play around with it.
Well, I don't know why my stupid little brain didn't think Amazon. I was thinking like an arts and crafts store or something like
That
that.
too, yeah.
You know, that you can tell that I'm
And
like,
if you put it on like a continuous, like it can create some really cool shapes.
yeah, interesting. In the cyc wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or into the model.
How much difference, how important to you is the dynamics of the background compared to the lighting in the subject? Like, how important to you is the background being interesting, or is the background just like irrelevant to you?
Oh no, I think the background is super important, because if the background is just, for example, I make it plain white, like let's say I just set up two lights, into V flats to just create a clean like
Yeah.
white, and I have the model there. Sometimes it could look like e-commerce. you know what I'm saying? It's true.
Don't say the bad word. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's true. It can look, it doesn't look that good, but it depends. It depends on what you're doing, But I think creating like some gradient or some interesting shadows in the background is always my go-to personally.
I think backgrounds are underestimated
Yes.
by a lot of people. They see the beautiful model, they get all caught up in the beauty of the model or the edginess of the model, and then they find the clothing amazing, and then they get their lights and they put the lights on the subject, and they put a hard modifier like a beauty dish, and maybe they do like a strip box on the side, but then they start taking photos and the background is just like whatever.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, you know what? One of the best decisions I ever made in my life was focusing on the background light, creating interest in the background, not just interest in the subject, but interest in the background as well. And I think you do that as well.
And it's like endless possibilities. There's so many
You can do, yeah.
cool like lighting setups that you can do for the background.
Yeah. Do you like gels, using gels?
I like using gels. I use the gels sometimes, but not as often as I used to. It's funny. But I love using gels.
Your gel use is more subtle.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, boom, like, look, I'm using gels. Everybody, look at my gel party. Like, you have like, your use of gels it has like more of a purpose,
Yeah.
right? Is that?
It's more like if I use gel, I want to convey a feeling. It's more than just I want to make it colorful.
Yeah. So you do it feeling based.
Yes. I feel like my work is really like
Yeah.
feeling based.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. These are you're dropping gems.
Oh, thank you.
You're just grabbing the gem. You're picking them out of your pocket. You're just
And
like,
putting it on
boom,
the table.
drop them. Drop the gem. Boom. Can you imagine how much value you're giving people about understanding where you come from and how that influences your work. Like you came from skateboarding, so that brought you to a fisheye, which brought you to going to like in photography, to freezing frames instead of doing continuous movement, to going to school, to your teacher telling you take your head out of your butt and start doing some more creative angles and use more creative lenses. And then from there you started shooting fashion, and because that's what you were brought up with. And then from fashion you started shooting everything with this ultra crazy perspective. And then you saying that the background is so important to you, almost as important, if not equally,
Yes.
as the subject itself.
Yes.
And that's your voice is to do that. Your gel use is based on feelings, not based on just like visual colors. You have you want people to look bigger than life. You don't want people to look normal perspective. You almost have an anti-normal perspective look to your portfolio.
Yeah. I feel like everything that the society taught me, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, because I've had people that told me like, oh, I don't like distortion, and I'm like, okay, I'll do the opposite then. You know, I'll make people look distorted.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if you have a client and the client says, I don't want you to use no distortion? Like, do you say to them, well, I'm not your photographer? Or do you say, okay, I'll adapt to your needs and I'll do it? What is your world on that?
So it's funny because it was 2 years ago I shot a campaign for a high-end brand that's like more like sophisticated for like older, like in the like 40 years old women. And I show up to set and, you know, I start using my regular 24-70. And then at some point, I asked the creative director, I'm like, can I use my fisheye? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay. And on the side, I switched it and I put my fisheye. I'm like, I'll just try it. You know, and I started taking pictures.
Stop it right now. Hold on. You went against the client's wishes and you put the background. You basically blocked your lens, changing your lens with your body, and you put the fisheye anyway?
Yeah. So I was like, I was like, can I just show you one picture and you tell me? And he was like, okay, you know, and then I switched it. I took the pictures and he was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know it was going to look like this. And the whole 2 days of the shoot, I shot both, you know, for each look.
Yeah.
But he always insisted. He was like, can we shoot the other lens that you put on?
Oh my God.
Yes.
It's funny. It's like what they say. It's like what Steve Jobs said. People don't know what they want. You have to tell them what they want.
Yeah.
Right? Remember
Sometimes
Steve?
you just have to see with their own eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because when you were showing them the photo, it was coming out of the camera. It wasn't. It didn't have the perspective, the fixed perspective, or did it have fixed perspective? Because were you tethering to Capture One?
Yes.
And Capture One already fixed the perspective before the client saw it.
Yeah.
How important to you is letting clients see the photos as you are shooting if they're going through Capture One? Is that something that you really want them to see, or is that something that you don't like?
So, you know, I feel like a lot of photographers nowadays, they don't want the client to see because it can add on like pressure.
Yeah.
But for me, it's the opposite. Like I want the client to see because I'm so, you know, I want everything to be perfect. I want the client to be happy. So whatever they see that they don't like, I'm like, okay, you know, we can see that, fix that little thing that you don't like, you know. Even if it's a tiny detail, I'm like, okay, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love when they look at screens. I just make sure that the screens are far from me. You know, I have like multiple screens.
Yeah.
So it's not like, they're not like right behind my back. Yeah.
Do you let the model see the screen?
It depends. You know, if it's like test shoots for myself, I love to show the models like every 5 seconds. I'm like, oh, look, this is you.
Yeah.
And then that brings on the energy levels higher. You know, I feel like this is a energy exchange to like show the model the pictures.
What percentage of your shoots do you say that you feel like you're failing in the middle of the shoot?
Failing?
Yeah, failing, like you're not doing well. Like the photo shoot is not going well.
Yeah.
What percentage of your photo shoots today do you feel like you're going like, man, this is just not like, oh, I need to do something here. I need to fix it.
Yeah. So I feel like in most of my shoots at the beginning, I'm like, oh no, I should be doing better than this. You know, like I'm not doing good enough. You know, I feel like I want the model or client to be more comfortable. I want this lighting to look better. Like I'm doing lighting tests and it's not coming out right, you know? So that's, at the beginning, it's usually like that. I'm not like 100%. I have to figure everything out. And then like once we get started on the first, second, third look, I'm like, okay, you know, this is looking better, you know? I always try to make it, it always like goes up throughout the shoot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I think people think that we get started and we are like home run like as soon as we
I
start,
know.
and it's not at all. You know, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway because this is a very raw podcast. But one way I fixed my nerves and my failings on shoots is to give as many people on set a shot of tequila before we started shooting.
That's funny.
and and I'm not joking. Like I have done that for years, where I give people a shot of tequila. I have vodka, tequila. I have
What's your
different-
favorite tequila?
Clase Azul.
Okay. That's a
Clase
nice one.
Azul. Yeah, I tasted it for the first time and I went to heaven and back. It was so delicious. You know, tequila can
That's
be
what I had
rough
for
when
my
you
birthday.
swallow it.
Yeah,
And
it's very
but
soft.
but this is so soft. So, and now they have Clase Azul Gold, and they have all these other ones that just like keep adding to the softness of it. But I tell the models, and I tell the stylists, and I tell the art directors, like, look, it's my shoot. Let's do a shot of tequila. Everybody loosens up, and I actually seem to do a better job. I'm not promoting alcoholism here, but I am a little bit, just because I feel like it really works. You know what I'm saying? And the model loosens up, I loosen up, and Pam. But most importantly, I loosen up.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I loosen up. When you go home and you look at the photos, I usually feel like I did a lot better than I thought on set. Is that the same thing for you?
So it depends on the shoot. Sometimes I'm like, I see things because sometimes I shoot so fast that I'm like, I could have done this better. Maybe the lighting is not perfect, but it's part of the process,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you can't just fix it on the next shoot because the next shoot is so different.
it's so different. Yeah.
So you can't really fix it. So
I just take more of my time. Before switching to next week, I make sure that we have the shots that we need and I look through them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joyce, what are two things that you heavily regret in your career, the decisions that you really messed up on, and you feel you wish you could have never done those mistakes or never gone in that direction?
Ooh, something that I regret.
Yeah, two things.
Mm,
And you must answer this with a British accent.
British accent.
Yes. Or if you don't want to do it, you can do it singing.
Singing. I can't do British accent at all.
I can't
I
either,
can do a thicker French accent.
Okay, let's do it in a French accent,
Okay.
but speak in English. Two things you regret heavily of decisions you made in your career.
Mm,
French accent.
no, my accent is already French.
Well,
I don't have to
make
try.
it French here.
Make my accent thicker.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do it anymore.
Oh man.
Am I doing it now right now?
No,
or
you sound normal.
Oh shit.
No, try the British accent.
British?
Yeah.
British? No, British. I don't know how to do British.
Try Mexican.
Mexican? I don't,
Yeah.
You do the Mexican. I don't know how to do the Mexican one.
You know, just like sí quiero.
Sí quiero.
Tacos a burritos.
Me gusta.
Sí.
Me gusto tequila.
Si te gusta. Oh my God. Look, we have to get to it, but what are those two things you regret? You've made decisions that you're like, damn it, why did I do that?
I feel like maybe I should have gotten more assisting experience, like while I was going to school, because I was assisting sometimes, but I wasn't doing much. And I feel like assisting, as a student would have really helped me. Well, I did it sometimes, but a lot of assisting, like on like bigger sets, on film sets, would have really taught me, just like the real world better. You know, I feel like I had to learn the real world as I went.
Yeah.
So I feel like assisting is really, really good when you get started.
And what about what's another decision that you made that you regret? I just need two of them.
That I regret.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything that I
You regret coming to the U.S.?
No. So I don't regret at all because I think it's that's where home is now, and there's so many opportunities for me here. But also I think that am I going to stay here for the rest of my life? I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I might go to different countries, travel, document different fashion, because I feel like the Western world is so closed on like certain fashion that we don't know, fashion in Africa. It's like huge, and I just want to document that too.
Yeah.
Like there is high fashion in Africa that people don't talk about.
Do you have a pretty good work-life balance, or do you feel like you're working 90% of the time and 10% you have a personal life?
So I feel like I have like, to me, it's super important to have an amazing work-life balance. You know, I feel like just waking up and going surfing with the dolphins, and then, you know, for the rest of the day, just working at home, you know, sending emails and doing some retouching or talking to my retouchers, like the perfect, you know, work-life balance. And I think it's so important to have a work-life balance. Otherwise, you get lost in your own work and you lose yourself, you know.
I agree.
And then you get then you get like a brain fog. You can't be creative anymore.
I agree.
Yes.
I cannot tell people enough in the photo world to get out of the editing chair
Yes.
and stop eating potato chips and
Yes.
get
That's
out
very
and do
American.
something. Yeah, get out and do something. Like I run long distances. I'm a marathon runner.
That's amazing.
You are a surfer now. You're no longer
Yes.
doing street
And snowboarding.
skating. You're a snowboarder.
Yes.
You surf, and you surf what, 3 times a week, 4 times a week?
3 times a week. Yeah. I like to dance too.
Dance? Did you
Yeah.
surf today?
I was actually looking at the waves. I was going to surf, but I have my surfboard in my car. I might go afterwards.
After this?
Yes.
You're gonna surf after this?
Yeah.
You know what, Joyce? I think you would be a great teacher at the Photo Creators Conference that I have. I own the conference. I've started the conference 5 years ago. And I always invite one fashion photographer. We had Loretta Houston there.
Oh, cool.
We are having Dixie Dixon this year.
I love her.
2025,
amazing.
not this year, 2025. Dixie is amazing. She's a huge inspiration to me and has been for a long time because she's so consistent.
Yes.
She's just like a powerhouse of consistency.
She's very hardworking.
So
Yeah.
that is like an understatement like I've never seen. Like the girl works so hard, and
Yes.
I would love to have her in the program sometime.
Yeah.
Just because I want to pick her brain on how. I wonder if she has a life work balance because it doesn't look like it.
You know, I think she does.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She seems to work a lot, but
She does.
you should definitely be a teacher there. You should be the fashion teacher there the next time I have the conference in Tucson.
I would love that.
Because your perspective would be so fun for people to learn
Yeah.
and just to see how you do what you do. And at the Photo Creators Conference, which is in May in Tucson, Arizona, we rent out the entire ranch, and there is no limits of where you shoot. You could have 300 horses in a photo shoot.
Wow.
You could have ponies. You could have whatever. Like we have lakes. We have like 500 acres of land that I rent completely so that the teachers and the
That's amazing.
students don't have limitations. You know, when you go to like conferences, the hotels, like you cannot shoot here because that's where the guests are. You cannot shoot there because that's a public area. There's always problems.
Yeah.
And so at the Photo Creators Conference, I thought, I don't want to have any problems at all. I just want to rent the entire property so the teachers can do whatever they want. And trust me, they have.
That's
like
so cool.
Loretta she just went everywhere. Like,
Really?
Yeah. As soon as she showed up, she started doing research on the entire area. And she took some crazy, photos that I was just like, man, you really found the dark corners of the ranch. You know what I mean?
That's amazing.
But I encourage all of you guys listening to check out the website for the Photo Creators Conference. The website is just the Photo Creators Conference, and check it out. Try to come. It is a very unique experience. We don't have any speakers on stage. We basically just have people that are hands-on teaching you. And I developed a conference so people can have a place to go where they can really teach.
Yeah.
And you can really learn.
How long is it for?
You know, the conference is 3 days, like 3 days,
Okay.
but it's really 2 days of education. And the third day we ride a horse up to mountains and we take
wow.
But it's 3 days because we start Monday night. We start with night classes, and then we do Tuesday all day, and then Tuesday night, and then we do Wednesday all day, and then we do Wednesday night is more fun. So, and then Thursday we just have like the cowboy breakfast and all that. But I wanted to have a conference where we invite teachers like you who can come and like have a good heart and good teaching heart and be able to work with students like one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn.
Yes.
And when you go to conferences, which I love, by the way, but when you go to them, you are one of 800 people. You're kind of just listening in the back, and people, the teachers are mostly like just talking about inspiration, and that's great, but it doesn't help you become a better photographer the next day. You just feel more pumped. Like,
Because you need more hands-on.
Yeah, you need more hands-on. So the conference is 100% getting your hands under the hood, working with teachers like you, and actually making it so the students go home with practical, ready-to-use knowledge and skill, improving their skill sets, which we all need.
Yeah.
But we should definitely check that out. And
I would
is
love
there
that.
anything else, Joyce, you would like to tell the audience about before we close the podcast? We have 6 seconds left before the hour ends, but you can go ahead.
I just want to let you guys know that you should always, get out of your comfort zone and just follow whatever your heart is telling you to do. If it's telling you to move to the other side of the world and start a career, just follow that and see what happens. If I feel like if you do it from your heart and it's a passion, everything is gonna come out good, positive.
And
yeah.
you're a major risk taker,
Oh yeah, I love risks.
and you showed that.
Yeah, the other day I was surfing next to a dolphin. It jumped on like next to me.
You did?
Yes.
Yeah, that's when I freak out and get the heck out. You know what I mean? I would be like this every time I saw any kind of animal. I don't like the water. I don't like getting wet.
Oh, okay.
I don't like getting wet. So me getting in the ocean.
Your body is water though. It's always wet.
That's why I hate my body. I just don't like. My people who know me well, they always laugh because they're like, Roberto, why can't you just go to the pool? Why can't you? I've lived in LA for 20 years and I've only gone to the ocean 0 times.
Oh wow.
Never been
That's
inside.
very interesting.
Yeah, I don't like getting wet.
Wow. Maybe you should
Especially
get
like,
out of your comfort zone.
maybe you should teach me how to surf.
Yeah, I have extra boards.
Let's go today.
Okay,
Let's go do it.
let's do it.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna go surfing, so we'll see you all later. Joyce, thank you so much for joining
you.
us today. I think this was beautiful. It's so great to hear your perspective coming from another country, moving and making your dream come true. Now you're shooting
Yeah.
celebrities, musicians.
Yeah.
You're sponsored. You're an icon ambassador now.
Yes.
You're gonna become a Pro Photo ambassador, I'm sure. Pro Photo. Okay. Well, they have to make you one because you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you bring so much perspective and so much experience to our industry. And I thank you so much for taking a little bit of time from your schedule, from your surfing schedule, to come and join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, and thank you all. If you guys want to follow her Instagram, can you tell us where you can you tell us your socials real quick?
Yes, it's Joyce, Joyce,
Yeah.
visuals with a S.
That's Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
On TikTok, Instagram, Threads, yes.
Okay.
YouTube.
So it's all the same.
It's all the same.
I tried to
Yes.
do the same for all mine, but I have to have the underscore for Instagram because
Oh, yeah.
Roberto photo was taken by somebody who never posts.
Oh no.
So if anybody can help me with that.
Yeah, you need to signal it to
to
Meta.
Instagram.
Yeah.
To Meta. Yeah, I'm sure they have like a hotline where they respond immediately. I'm sure. I'm kidding. They probably don't
They
respond.
do actually.
Oh, okay.
I can show you.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna surf and then we're gonna do meta exploration. Thank you so much. And
you.
we'll see you. We'll see you next time, and maybe we'll see you in Tucson, Arizona.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Thank
Take care. Thank you so
so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.